Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Today's video is going to be our weekly NASCAR review. We're going to do a quick review of the race from this past Sunday at Atlanta Motor Speedway, which was the final race at Atlanta Motor Speedway under the current configuration, because starting this week they are supposed to start redoing the entire racetrack and have it ready by 2022. Before we get into that, I want to go ahead and say, for all of the Major League Baseball fans that care about the Home Run Derby, congratulations to Pete Alonso. He won the Home Run Derby last night. He's basically won two in a row because, as we know, there was no Home Run Derby last year, but he won it in 2019 and he won it last night. So he's basically now won the Home Run Derby 2 consecutive years. So congratulations to New York Mets first baseman Pete Alonso for winning the Home Run Derby. Now on to our NASCAR review. Kurt Busch got his 33rd career win Sunday afternoon at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and it's only funny because last week we found out that his current owner, Chip Ganassi, is selling his team to Trackhouse Racing at the end of the season, so we kind of wondered and kind of figured that Chip Ganassi Racing would struggle for the rest of the year, but not so fast. Kurt Busch had a really good car Sunday, and I believe that's his 4th career win at Atlanta, so I'm sure he hates knowing that the track is changing. We'll talk more about that coming up here in just a few minutes. We'll go ahead and finish running through our running order. Kurt's brother Kyle Busch finished in 2nd place. They had the 2 best cars all day long. 3rd place was Martin Truex Jr. 4th place was Alex Bowman. Rounding out the top 5 was Ryan Blaney. And 6 through 10 was Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, Matt DiBenedetto, and Brad Keselowski. There's now 5 races left to go in the regular season. And the points right now, of course, we know Kurt Busch winning on Sunday means there is now 12 winners so far this season. So the top 12 in the points are the 12 guys who have won this year. Kyle Larson is at the top because he's won the most races, followed by Martin Truex Jr., Alex Bowman, Kyle Busch, and Chase Elliott. Kyle Larson and Martin Truex Jr. and Alex Bowman and Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott are the top 5. Once again, in 6 through 10 is William Byron, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, and Kyle's brother Kurt Busch rounds out the top 10. And 11 and 12 are the guys that won back early, the first couple of races of the season. Christopher Bell is 11th, and Michael McDowell is 12th. But if you look right now, 16th place is Tyler Reddick, the guy who finished in 6th place Sunday at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and he is 96 points ahead of Chris Buescher, who is in 17th place. And 18 through 20 right now is Matt DiBenedetto, Ross Chastain, Kurt Busch's teammate, and Darrell Wallace. 96 points out it's not impossible, but I wouldn't look for it to happen. So unless Buescher or DiBenedetto or Chastain or Wallace win one of the next 5 races, I would say you can pretty much look right now at the points at 1 through 16, and those are going to be your 16 playoff drivers. But there is a chance that Buescher or DiBenedetto or Chastain or Wallace do win a race, so you just never know. But I would say if one of those 4 does not win one of the next 5 races, the top 16 as of right now will be your 16 playoff drivers, of course, Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick are not up there because they have yet to win a race this season, but they are in 13th and 14th place, respectively. They're the first two drivers in the points that have not won a race this year. Back on the track this Sunday afternoon at New Hampshire, 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon is the Foxwoods Resort Casino 301. Now, back to the topic of the racetrack changing. If you follow NASCAR, you know that leading up to the race on Sunday, they probably interviewed 15 to 20 drivers, somewhere along in there, I would say, pretty much all the big-time drivers, about Atlanta changing. And, of course, none of the drivers like it. They all hate it. So, of course, the fans are hating it because the fans are always going to side with the drivers. And it's not just in NASCAR. If you look at football or baseball or any major sport, anytime there's any kind of a conflict between the owners or the general managers and the players or the drivers, the fans always tend to lean toward what the players or the drivers say because they're the ones out there performing while the owners and the general managers are making money off of them. So the drivers are always going to have the favor of the fans. That's nothing new. That always happens, but something has to be done because, for one, if you watch the race on Sunday, part of the racetrack basically just almost fell apart. And they were going to reconfigure or at least repave Atlanta back in 2018, but the sanctioning body asked the drivers what they thought about it, and the drivers said, no, don't do it. So they didn't do it, but now the surface is just so old, something has to be done. But not only that, if you watched the race on Sunday, the crowd was absolutely embarrassing. And I hate that because Atlanta Motor Speedway, for one, is the closest NASCAR track to my hometown. But not only that, NASCAR this year, the TV ratings have been up. So the sport is looking up, and the fan attendance at every racetrack this year has been up. Even Atlanta earlier this season had a pretty good crowd, but Sunday was embarrassing. And I know the fans right now are mad because the driver said don't do it, so they want to jump in the pockets of their favorite driver and, show them they have their support. But you can't make it when you only have 15 or 20,000 fans in the stands. So the outspoken fans are obviously taking, the side of their favorite driver. But obviously, for the most part, the fans are ready for a change in Atlanta because I can remember growing up when I first started watching NASCAR in 95, and I can remember going to Atlanta one time that I went and watching it on TV every year. Atlanta was jammed packed. And then I guess around 2004, 2005 is when the attendance kind of dropped off, and Atlanta went from 2 races a year back to 1, and all the fans had a fit about Atlanta losing a race. But the reason why Atlanta lost a race was because nobody went. So they lost the race, and they did get it back this year. And earlier this year, their attendance was good. But Sunday, it was embarrassing. So if the fans aren't going with the current configuration, and the track has to be repaved. I mean, if you watch Sunday's race, it was embarrassing that some of the track basically just fell apart. And that's why they wanted to do it back in 2018, but the driver said no, so they put it off as long as they could. So if it has to be done, you might as well try to reconfigure it and hope that it makes the racing more competitive and hope that it brings more fans back to the racetrack starting in 2022. If you're a NASCAR fan and you have any thoughts on the race from this past Sunday, if you have watched it yet, please feel free to drop it in the comments section and let me know whether or not you are in favor of the racetrack changing. I am, because like I said, this is the same company that turned Charlotte into the Roval a couple of years ago, and I think that's been an overwhelming success for the most part. I mean, no matter what you do, you're always going to have some negative comments, but from what I've heard and what I've read over the last couple of years about the Roval, about 90% of the NASCAR fans are enjoying it. So when you do something and you get 90% good, 10% bad, it's pretty good, I would say. You're never going to have 100%, probably never going to have 95%. So if you have 85 to 90% of the fans enjoying it, then you're doing something right. And this is the same company that's now going to redo Atlanta and hope that the new surface and the new configuration makes the racing better. And if you can make the racing better, I'm always in favor of it. That's why you watch racing, is to have a good race. Like Sunday's race between Kurt and Kyle, I want to say Kurt passed Kyle with 23 laps to go, I believe, and never lost the lead. But Kyle hung with him and stayed with him, but he just couldn't pass him. They both had the best two cars on the racetrack all day long. And of course, Ross Chastain is Kurt Busch's teammate, and of course he helped Kurt Busch win the race. But I don't know if Kyle would have passed Kurt had he not been there, so you really can't say. But of course, you're going to try to help your teammate in NASCAR. But I still think Kurt would have won the race regardless of that. But we'll never know. So congratulations to Kurt Busch getting his first win of the season and his 33rd career win. Kurt Busch will be 43 next month, which 43 is not old, but if you follow NASCAR, you know that most drivers start slowing down once they get in their mid-40s. The only two drivers right now full-time that are older than Kurt Busch are Ryan Newman, who will be 44 coming up later on this year, and Kevin Harvick is 45. So Kurt Busch is actually the third oldest driver in NASCAR, but you can't tell because he drives for Ganassi, which is not one of the bigger teams in NASCAR, and he still wins pretty much one race, if not two, every year, and still makes the playoffs every year. So we'll have to wait and see what next year holds for Kurt Busch, but I think it's obvious that he's not ready to hang it up, and I think it's obvious that he still has it. He's still a great race car driver. So if you're a NASCAR fan or know someone who is, please feel free to tell them to watch this video and give me their thoughts on the Atlanta race, on the new 2022 Atlanta Motor Speedway configuration, or their upcoming thoughts about this Sunday's Foxwoods Resort Casino 301 Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Which is faster, hot or cold? Hot, because you can catch a cold. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of three. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.